Well, we have lost a hero. This is a significant blow to the peacemaking process. And that he, I have told people, and if I should not digress, but go to the bigger picture, the meta-narrative, until we have economic reform, we have to have constitution reform. And before we have constitution reform, we have got to identify philosophical drivers that will help us go through this tough period. And even before we talk about philosophy, we have to talk about values. For example, the issue of sacrifice. Do you know, October the 17th, and this station must take credit, because before he died, we affirmed the work he was doing right here. I was right here with you, and subsequently with Rhea, and we affirmed the work he was doing. And I did mention that on October the 17th, he was there and spent 5 hours in the school. We had a meeting before we met with the staff. The staff was grieving. M. Tima was there, we were just quoted. And Kwesi was also there, IATF, Hearts and Minds, folks in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Leons, Dr. Lobel Francis came in eventually. And he stayed right through those 5 hours. And I remember a teacher was making a point in the school. All right, and they were hurt, they were grieving for the guy. I think within 2 years, they've had 5 of the guys killed in the community, students from the school. And he was saying, I can't be here all the time, because I'm engaged in a process that takes up all of my time. And I can't promise you to be here all the time, because they were saying, we hope when we see you guys today, we see you soon after, you don't desert and abandon us. And he came out very true and said, listen, I can't promise you to be here all the time. I've come here this morning and we came here to offer comfort and offer solace. So what I got from him was integrity, was the issue of truth, and the ability to sacrifice. He loved to sacrifice. That was the kind of person Hal Greaves. So when I say it's a significant loss, that must not be taken lightly in terms of his commitment to community. And as Stephen Williams said, the acting commissioner of police, as he said, it was not just in Laventille. His influence spread beyond Laventille. And with a sense of humor, he had a way of captivating the imagination of young people. This is a blow. This is a blow in the fight against crime, not just for Laventille, but across the board.
And I remember the person that he was working with as Uncle Roy, she was saying that many times he would be doing things, so his body is failing, but at the same time, he's still working, so I can't walk to this, I'm going to be writing this letter, I'm going to be sending this email.
Yes, yes. And apparently, there was some cardiovascular problems. His heart was giving him some pressure because, he collapsed on the way, as she was saying, to a particular program, and she had, I think it was in Queens Hall, she had to go up front and apologize on his behalf. So there were some health issues, but that did not diminish his drive to sacrifice, for the nation, a true patriot. And he's a role model, and I don't know what will be done in his honor, but clearly what Timothy said here is true. Sometimes we don't gravitate. I'm facing a situation yesterday with a journalist from The Guardian, and distorted the facts, Mr. Bali was saying, distorted the facts, and exploited a tragedy that I have spoken to here. When I was abducted, I never tried to cancel any check or bounce any check. I thought I had, hit the guy's trolley. The police and got a comprehensive report from me. And I offered to pay for the trolley, but I didn't have enough money, so I called up the bank not to cancel any check. And these guys threatened me for 3 days, and that a responsible newspaper and a journalist could exploit that kind of tragedy tells you the kind of blows community activists have to face who are sacrificing their lives for this country.
And speaking of community activists and being on the ground, what does that mean in general or specifically for crime and violence as it pertains to the youth in the areas that Mr. Greaves would be working on?
Well, there are a number of us who are involved, and we have to challenge young people, and I think Success Laventille, given the altruistic principle, who understands the issue of sacrifice, Ms. Hamida Bash, I think what we have to do is challenge students and young people. You see, I keep saying we're not doing enough of that. While politicians may practice what I call rotating marginalization every 5 years, we have to go in there and challenge the youth, step up to the plate in terms of being noble and sacrificial and honest police officers, soldiers, prison officers, step up to the plate in terms of being altruistic teachers. In other words, what we have to do in this Gova season, psychologically and spiritually, is to challenge our young people. And they love them, there's no two ways about that, because They were convinced that he was genuine. And by the way, young people see right through us, you know. We think we are fooling young people. And we commit the sins, you know, over the decades, and then we come back and having mentored them in a certain negative way and come back and blame them when we have set them the wrong example. And I am saying the life of Hal Greaves, we can't say enough about him. You know, we can't give you enough plaudits. But what we have to say is that we have to help the youth and families, you know, in areas where he worked. The last area he made a lot of concentration was in the Laventille area, the hotspots, and you see a serious reduction in crime, in part due to some of his efforts and other groups that are there, the Laventille Foundation, Hearts and Minds, and every other group. But I'm saying now is the time to embrace our youth, and we have to encourage the guys who have put on the guns, not to take back up their guns, but to, you know, to honor his legacy by continuing the peace process. I want to repeat that. Honor Hal Greaves' legacy by continuing the peace process.
How do families make sure that they are also part of that process? And I think specifically to grannies, there is a soca parang a little while ago where this woman sang, "You get all of this when the barrel come." And we still have the experience of parents, guardians being outside, and you have grandparents being in that mentoring role.
You see how anxious I am to answer that question? I believe we don't appreciate fully the role of grandparents, especially grandmothers. Because I have grandmothers limping coming to my office saying, "Help my son, help my son." You know, I have grandmothers come to my office and me, "Pastor," and I go to meet them in the hot spots. And tell me, "Pastor, the parents are showing no interest in the children. Some of them are away, and the barrel syndrome. They feel as they send stuff around holiday time. That is proper parenting. That is not proper parenting." I had to tell one grandparent this week, I say, "Listen, yes, you have relatives into the marijuana stuff. Yes, you have them into tough stuff. Yes, you have fractures, you know, within your family. But at the same time, there's only so much you can do and no more." I had to tell a grandparent recently, this week, I said, "Listen, if the police come and find your grandchildren smoking in that, you're going down also. I mean, you could hardly walk." And I mean, I am saying we have to have a national strategic plan to deal with the issue of grandmothers in crisis, who have to play the role of grandparent and also parent and counselor and spiritual leader. And we in the church must play a greater role in terms of that also. But they are hurting, I'm telling you. They have a responsibility that is unfair to them.
All right, so we take a pause here. We still have Pastor Clive Dottin with us, and we're going to be asking how we can make the situation a little more warm and friendly and inviting, and the role that grandmothers or grandparents have to play in that.
Well, I believe a community has to determine where it wants to go, its future direction, its vision. And therefore, if we recognize this as a challenge, we cannot leave them alone. You are facing grandparents, counseling grandparents, and some of them have 12 relatives to deal with without much help. So the state has a role to play, the community has a role to play, the church has a role to play, NGOs have a role to play. And I am calling for an evaluation, a thorough kind of management audit of NGOs to identify the NGOs that are doing a fantastic job. And if they got just some increased resources, they'll do so much more. Once you're on the ground, once ministry officials on the ground, they will discover the NGOs that have a track record who are making a difference. For example, last night I was at the St. James Police Youth Club, and they're helping us with this particular issue we are discussing. I don't know, Officer Shabadi was telling me, "Pastor, if I only gets, you know, some more equipment, some more resources." They have a lovely building. We compliment the police administration for facilitating that. But right now, with the building, it's empty. You need furniture. You need some more laptops. You know what I mean? You need other physical fitness equipment and other things to make the lives of the young people. Because what is happening sometimes is grandparents who drop their grandchildren there, you know, for us to manage and take care. So I'm saying, if we share what I call collective responsibility and display maturity and nobility, we can really do something to help these individuals. But we have to brighten the corner where we are.
Using the ideas of vision, you also spoke of, you started to talk about the St. James Police Youth Club.
Yeah.
9th time around, acting commissioner of police. What does that do? What does that do for our country?
That is not good for the morale, and I agree with Officer Michael Seals, the president of the Police Service Association. I agree with him that, you know, the acting commission is doing a good job, but it is kind of reflective of either a failing state or a failed state, that you have to put him to act, whoever it is, the 9th time. And I am saying both major parties, and of course minor parties like MSG, and they have a role to play in terms of being a voice. We definitely have to fix that. It is not good for morale. And apart from that, it telegraphs a signal to the criminal element that we are somehow constitutionally impotent. That is the message. And that, to my mind, is the most important point. I hear people saying, but he still has his budget, he's still in charge. That's not the issue. The mere fact we cannot pull together our political resources and other resources to have that procedure fixed, all right? And then you have almost had a vacuum that the Prime Minister announced. And I went on media saying, definitely the Police Service Commission has to clarify that issue. And when he was coming in, he said he was in the dark about what should take place. So somebody dropped the ball somewhere. That is a fact. And we can't, I mean, come on, we are racing to 400 murders. And we cannot tolerate that kind of situation. We have to appreciate where we are. And, you know, the buck stops somewhere. And we have to understand, it is not the best thing to have a situation where the Prime Minister says he doesn't know when tomorrow comes who will be the commissioner or the acting commissioner. And that has got to be fixed. And we have enough brains and we have enough experts, all right, to use the facilities God has given them to fix that issue. That is not an issue we can trivialize. What kind of signal are we sending to the criminal operatives and mafia structure and pyramid in the society?